Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to the participants for joining on a late Friday evening. I know how important a Friday evening is, and especially after you've finished a many number of calls from Monday to Friday. So to kick off the discussion, we've written up something about this discussion in the background to set the tone of the discussion. So I'll jump straight into it. No profession has remained untouched by the global crisis of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the resulting economic downturn. Corporate social responsibility, or CSR as we all know it, is no exception. The past year shined a bright light on the increasing importance of corporations redefining their value to society and expanding the commitment to all stakeholders, customers, employees, regulators, investors, and most of all, communities in which we work. The landscape changed drastically. While companies did things to balance it out, there's so much that's undone. Today, we will discuss what role CSR will play in livelihood improvement in these difficult times, what companies are doing differently, and how can CSR be the road to recovery. So on that note, I would like to introduce my panelists to all the participants who have joined this webinar. To start with, we have Ms. Alka Mishra, AVP and Head Financial Literacy Program, Financial Entrepreneurship Program, ICICI Foundation. Welcome, Alka, and thank you so much for accepting our invite.
Thank you so much, Joel. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. My second participant would be Mr. Dharmendra Kumar, Head CSR, SEPCOP Green Infra. Thank you, Dharmendra, for accepting and coming to this webinar. Then we have Mr. Hardik Vara, Head Sustainability, CSR Communication for Marelli. Thanks, Hardik. And Mr. Parthasarthi Chandar, Lead CSR for AkzoNobel. So thank you, Partha, for accepting this invite, and thank you all for joining on a Friday evening. Now, to open this debate, we've all seen the resurgence of COVID-19, and we've all experiencing it at all levels. So the most affected, as we all would know, in our in the capacity that we are with in our organizations, the marginally and underprivileged groups have been hit the most due to this resurgence of the COVID-19. So what do you all think are the short-term and long-term impacts that the economy has seen with the resurgence of the pandemic? Alka, would you like to open the debate?
Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Bill, that this pandemic has hit the underprivileged and people who are totally dependent on daily to daily earning. So whether it's laborers or bhaji, and we are working towards it. And the worst hit was when everybody they were rushing back to their native places, and that was when everyone, even the middle class people, started suffering. There were lack of laborers. Construction sites. We were working recently. I also was working with one NGO who works for the construction site labor. That was also, they also were suffering because there were lack of labor. So because of this, every field you name it, whether it's the construction or the businessman or the education, everywhere people were suffering.
So it's been, yeah, I think, it hasn't spared any layer of society. It's taken, everything along with it.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Partha, do you want to come in on that and add any comments?
Yeah, so as rightly said, it has impacted everyone. And, there will be, I think, short-term impact we are already seeing. And for the last year itself, we have been seeing that, there was suddenly a halt to the entire development project of India, like, be it any sector. because being representing a paint company, the impact we can see more on the ground, because I myself was involved in the relief work, and when slowly unlocking was in process last year. So we were trying to meet the painters, the paint contractors in the construction sites. So I could hear many very difficult stories from them. It was a complete struggle for them to get the workforce. I know, and there were cases, and they had to send vehicles from Delhi to Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, just to bring them back. And I think this year the impact will be more, because last time at least COVID didn't reach the villages, the tier 2, tier 3, or the villages of India. But this time this has reached the villages. So I was just having a discussion with few of my paint contractors, and they were all scared. They were back in their hometowns, and even if it opens up, the economy opens up, and probably it will open up in the next 1 or 2 months, they didn't want to come back. The poverty is probably they're pushing the country back to 10-15 years. So the short-term impact, definitely we are going to witness once the economy opens up, that there's going to be a huge shortfall of labor. All the major infrastructure what is going to affect it, and the long term it be also many of this labor are never going to come back, right? So the way they work, the skills they have are going to need a lot of changes in them to remain to revive themselves.
And Partha, you would be hit by two sections of industry, right? One is the decorative paints industry, and you have a huge amount of stake in the automotive industry. And if you see the sales figures of May 2020, I know I was talking to Hardik about this when I met him this morning. If you see the May figures of automotive industry across all providers, we sold only about 110,000 four-wheelers in a month, which has been the all-time lowest. So your company would have been hit on that front too.
Absolutely, because decorative paints last year picked up. It was quite a surprise thing. And if you typically see, all the top paint companies earned almost a record profit last year, after
Correct.
the lockdown. But the industrial and the vehicle sector didn't pick up, because anyway automobile sector was under pressure last year, and this made it worse. Now, so we could find out on the ground when we are training people and we're trying to find employment for them. We could see that probably 30 to 40% of the body shops have all got closed. Small workshops, body shops have automatically got closed, because the larger players like Maruti, Honda can still remain open and survive. But what about the small body shops, auto garages in the neighborhoods? They couldn't survive it. So the huge heat, they were the industrial sector and the automobile sector was hit more. If I talk about business rather than their decorative paints.
Correct. Hardik, what about you? I'm going to move to Hardik now. Hardik, in your case, you too would have seen a huge impact of the resurgence. And what was the difference? What are you seeing differently between 2020 and 2021? Have you noticed any differences?
Yeah, so last year when we did the lockdown, so specifically in auto industry where we are pushing. So after 6 months, we thought that it would go and increase, and we got a good response. Hero Honda doing record sales, and people choosing now individual mode of transport instead of going into public transport because of infection. So that we thought it would be good point for auto industry. So again in December and January,
Hardik, your voice is not coming through. Maybe you want to switch the video off. Hardik, we couldn't hear what you said. You want to switch off the video and then probably say what you did. Your voice wasn't coming. Yes, I can.
Now you can.
Yes.
Is this okay?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
So actually, when we did the lockdown last year, 2020, and after the unlock, specifically in the auto industry, we felt like it was a good news when Honda also gave a such sales in November. We thought that now it will peak up once it start going up. Again, then when we came to January, the market is now it is all going upside down, and the sales, as you said, electricity sales and
Correct.
other spare requirements of the auto components of the auto industry have hit a lot. So, and again, the lockdown that we had to face since last 1.5 years. It has impacted. But what I feel largely is in terms of people who have migrated, they had to, as we discussed, they had to do it 2 times. Once they went last
Rohil,
year
if
and then
other than Hardik, everybody can mute themselves because there's lots of noise coming from somewhere. Not able to hear it. Yeah. Now it is, I think, clear. Yeah, Hardik, you can.
oh, okay. So, I mean, apart from big sectors like manufacturing, what I feel is largely impacted the lower sectors in terms of who are we can say not accounted for. Like we don't have data for those. So those people have been impacted more, and they had to do this activity 2 times in 1.5 years. They went last year to their places, thinking about that they will be free of the disease by going to their places. But then when they came back, they contracted the disease, and then they now took it to their places also. Now it has also become more of a difficult situation for them, that now it is a decision taking time dilemma that they should come back or not. And plus with the dilemma of the contractors not giving any specific replies that they would be again enrolled back for employment or not, that is a big thing. So now they have moved on to agriculture. If they have land in their native places, then they could do something for themselves. But if they don't have any land, it's a very difficult task for them. And recently, for western and northern part, this cyclone also impacted. Last year, the Amphan came. This year also again, Yas came, Tauktae came. So if we see about crops also, so largely a lot of farmers we have heard from western part of India and Gujarat, Maharashtra, that a lot of crops has been destroyed. A lot of small scale industries, their infrastructure has been destroyed due to the cyclone. So it has also hit apart from what we feel as a hit. So I feel sometimes that we don't know actually sitting here what they are feeling. It's difficult to feel that, but still, people like us and maybe industry CSR people and corporates are doing a lot of good things. So yeah, that is what I wanted to add right now.
Absolutely. I think CSR will lead the way for recovery, and that's the whole idea. I mean, corporate India will lead the way for recovery. So Dharmender, you're from the renewable energy space. While we have the BFSI segment, we have the automotive segment, we have the decorative paint segment. Did you see any massive downturn in the renewable energy space? Because Sepcop works largely in that space.
Yeah, in renewable sector, this is also affected, and as you know, this is the COVID affect all of the migrant labor or any business. All business have been get hampered by this COVID situation. And as this in project phase, we are getting delayed, and we don't have any from contractor side, contract worker shortage due to this COVID from this our project location to the concerned state, respective state, Bihar and Rajasthan, they have moved away, and they have their first priority to save the life, and how to save their life. They have forget to earn the money, and this there is the main motto, and that is the impact upon this due to COVID. And as per operation process, not at large impact in renewable sector because we, as renewable business controlled by remotely through a SCADA system, and we have limited manpower, 8 to 10 manpower. We have site engineers and we have control over the sites. Generation not affected much more.
Okay, okay. Those are different perspectives. I mean, coming from BFSI and renewable energy. I mean, that's excellent perspective to have. My next question would be, to all of you, and I'd leave it to you to decide who will go first. So, according to you, we've seen, non-farm to farm in 2020, where migrant laborers were in the non-farm space. They went back to the farm. Then they all realized around Diwali, post Diwali, that they needed to come back and make money that they had spent throughout the 6 months that they were back home. Then they came back, okay, and then COVID hit us a second time, and they've gone back from non-farm to farm again. Now, what do you think are the initiatives that should be taken in order to ensure that they have the right skill set when they come back? Because when they come back, they're in jobs that they could have forgotten their skill set quite easily in the past 8-10 months. So what do you think are the initiatives that should be taken to ensure they have the skill sets post-pandemic to meet the demand of the market? I mean, I'll leave it open to the panel, whoever wants to go first. I don't want to choose here. Great.
Yeah. So it's easy for me to tell you because we are doing it. We've started doing, because these laborers, when they went back to their villages, okay, so with no job, nothing to do. So what we initially, when pandemic had hit, we started planning that something of this kind might happen. And within few months, once proper lockdown and everything, they started rushing back to their native places. So what initiative we had taken is, the villages which were under us, we started skilling them in the domain where it's easier for them to make the livelihood in their villages only. Nothing what they were doing in the urban places. Okay, so like some repair work, some kind of agri training, some kind of beekeeping, honey making. So small, for the females, we started doing some stitching jobs and all those training and all. So it was easier for them to do some livelihood in the village. So our motive during that time was that these migrant labor should not come back. Because once earlier also our rural faced this, that people started running to cities, to get their livelihood. So before this pandemic only, we were planning this kind of thing, that they should not now migrate. They should stay back. So we were planning to have their own livelihood in the areas what they were working in the villages. So lots of agri or vermicomposting, dairy farming, everything, and then we help them to do the market linkages. So few examples I'll share which we have done. So I personally visited that village in Rajasthan. So that village people, they had 1 or 2 cattle in their houses. And they used to have milk in the morning 1 or 2 liter, in the evening 1 or 2 liter, or half liter they'll keep at home, and 1.5 liter they would go out and sell daily basis. So what initiative we took, we started training them, how to feed your cattle. From that 2 liters a day, how can you increase the milk in to 5 liters, So proper feeding, proper vaccination for the cattle, how to insure your cattle. Then we trained them on all these domains, and then being from banking background, we also helped them to get some loans and increase their cattle. So 6 months back, within 6 months, the transformation in village was like every houses, after that training, the cattle increase happened, and we approached Saras, which is a government body, So Saras said, in case if a village has more than 300 liters of milk, we will have a collection center set up in the village. So this Saras, they just had this set up in the village, and these people, they did not have to roam anywhere else. They used to have the milk, used to go and give it in the collection center, and the evening van would come, and then they will take the milk to the city and sell it. And within 15 days, the payment used to come in their account. So this way, what happened? They had time, in spite of roaming whole day to sell the milk, morning, evening, and all those, they had time. So they started concentrating on this agri part also. So from the dairy farming to agri also, we started training them. So this way, 2-3 families, and I have videos also, I would like to share later on with y'all. Y'all can see
Sure, please.
a house which was earning 4,000 to 5,000 a month. From 4,000 to 5,000, it went till 1.5 lakh a month. Because in other areas also where they started concentrating. Females also, they took over the dairy farming. They started earlier. They used to sit at home. Now they knew okay, and they were not even one slice. Where the cattle was. Where cattle they had placed. So all cleanliness maintained and everything. So these kind of training, motivated them. It's not needed to go to cities. So this helped us. This we had planned it long before, but during this pandemic, these things helped us to, gain their trust. These are happening, and you can, stay back in your village only. So we tried maximum numbers of laborers should not come back, because you never know. And now, so it is like third wave is about to hit, because this COVID has reached village. So we are doing that vaccination drive also in the villages, so that they all are vaccinated. But it's not easy for a single corporate to do. It is, everyone. So at present, the need of the hour is that they should be vaccinated. Awareness should be there. Like you see, villages says we stay in a very good atmosphere with no pollution. So हमको छुएगा ही नहीं, तो हमको कोई इंजेक्शन की जरूरत नहीं. So all this awareness is required, because otherwise, if they come back and again it will be very difficult for us to survive. So these are. So we are also working, and through this platform, I would also want to tell people, come ahead and make them aware. Okay, this vaccination to the rural is required, and something for them, train them in doing their own domain, which they are doing, in spite of coming back right now to the city.
Absolutely, that's forward thinking, or a vision that a company like ICICI would always have, right? Looking forward and understanding the requirements. But Alka, that being said, even though you're doing so much, right? You made a very, very important point that it can't be done by one corporate, right? So how many? Would you agree with the fact that corporates want to work in the communities that they personally are supporting, and they don't want to diversify, they don't want to spread their wings out?
Yeah, I will not. Because right now, every corporate which we are in touch with, they are working towards what is needed right now. So we have totally stopped. Like our major forte was, training and development, and which was in every areas, whether it's rural or urban and all. So at present, since last 2 months, every training and development is being put. I would not say hold to it, but we have diverted ourselves more towards the health and care for the rural and urban. So everybody is doing. I would not say they are not, spreading their wings in other areas.
Okay. So. Again, Hardik, what do you think? I mean, what are the initiatives?
Yeah. So actually, I wanted to add what Alka said. So for to do it at a larger scale, and to add to what she and her foundation is doing and what other people are doing, what I feel is the baseline is the data. So we don't have a national level any repository of how many people are poor or how many people are requiring employment, things like that. When we get survey details, the survey details don't come so fast, and whenever they come, they are of 5 years before the 5 years or 6 year numbers, so which we can't rely upon what that person is doing right now. So if people like us have so many portals to rely for jobs, there should be some portal wherein employment things can be shared for such type of people who are not actually in the mainstream, maybe a smaller maybe livelihood people, in terms of it can be as small as a small garage. I mean, it can be as a AC repairing unit or whatever. I mean, if you go to other countries, definitely they don't have such population of this kind over there, so they don't require such databases. But if you see, a lot of countries have only one Naukri sites, and maybe it is an only country site wherein you can upload your resume and do the job search. Where when in India, when there are so many platforms available for so many of us, why not expand it to other fields? There are people, I have heard news who are doing such activities through WhatsApp and other platforms to increase the recruitment of such people. But if there is a holistic, first of all, there is no number how many people are there. So to create, if we don't have the number, how do we create a plan for that number? So one is that, and second is when we are hearing Atmanirbhar packages for 2.0 will come, 3.0 will come by the Ministry of Finance, but how is that actually impacting on the ground is very difficult. So normally do it at our end. So we have educated our contractors to keep a database of people who have left and who have come. So whenever there is a need, we directly call, we give the priority to those people who have left, and we try to see that if they are able to, we are able to bring them back in terms of transportation or in terms of any support they require. But that is one off. I mean, how many it requires a lot of, because the population is so high who require such help. And I also feel something related to usage of technology. When we can use technology for so many stuff, there are people I have seen who are first taxi drivers for this online cab services. Now they have shifted their profession to online food delivery, and some food delivery people have now shifted to doing vegetable selling. So if technology can help to educate them, what Alka is doing, like how to sell and how to reach to more people, if that person is standing in a society, so how we can increase his search to other societies in a particular area or a sector, that education awareness we can do as a part of CSR program. Otherwise, until vaccination comes, it is difficult to call them. I mean, now they require a real assurance, because last time when we gave assurance, they said that yes, we'll come back. But then again, that assurance failed and they had to go back again. So this time the commitment has to be much more stronger.
Correct. And you used a way, I couldn't agree with you more that, technology needs to drive this forward. I mean, they need to be, but do you think, Hardik, that we as a country, in the parts that Alka or you or Partha or Dharmendra are working in, are equipped as a country from a technology standpoint, and is there enough of awareness within the rural parts of India, and more so within the rural infrastructure that needs to support this technology? Do you think that there's enough of foresight as to how we need to use, what technology we need to use, and how we need to get better, how to bring people back on track? So, what's your opinion?
So by reading and gauging largely we do it through internet. So by seeing the internet and reading reports, I definitely feel that people are now aware. So now there is no issue of that network not coming and mobile phones not available to access that. So I should not use the word Tom, Dick and Harry, but I am saying every individual is having access to mobile phone and very less data, less cost data compared to other countries. And if they can access so much of content on politics and other things through YouTube videos, they can definitely access this. So it's only about channelizing that particular information, making that so smart enough that that person understands in very less words, and utilizing that. That is what is required. And technology, we have given our people to other countries to develop their technologies. So definitely resource wise and dimag wise, we don't have that that issue. But definitely in terms of healthcare, we can see now there are so many. If you see the testing facilities, online laboratories have come up in last 1.5 years. So if you see, you don't have to go to the laboratory. You can just book a test and it will come to your place. But then again, a lot of people who joined, a lot of food delivery apps, a lot of people joined from the rural area into those sample taking activities. But that is again a risk. We sometimes feel like, are those guys trained enough to poke a needle into your body? So, but they were trained in very fast, but still there is a doubt. So those things can be strengthened. And one more thing I'll add later when we have more questions regarding nutrition. So I'll add that afterwards.
That's going to become a very, very important topic. I mean, nutrition and, health, healthy nutrition more so.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. So we can pick on that. Dharmender, your view on the initiatives using technology, what kind of skills?
As you know, our business is totally located in remote areas. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. We can hear
you. Our business is totally located in remote area, and we are working on focusing on that area only, and that is remote area. On this line, we are doing this thing, we are getting the input from the local community through panchayat or their local gram pradhan. They are giving the input. Yes, our villagers are youth are trying to learn something technical education. So based on their inputs, we get the survey, and we roll out the skill development program for that particular area. Post this COVID first lockdown, we getting the input, and after that we have targeted 6 locations in all. We have present in 6 states, and we are doing this skill development program for 750. Of course, team leads doing this skill development program as well. And beside that, we have also agriculture sustainability development program we have rolled out, where we can improve their productivity. We engage NGO partner who are doing the for agriculture development, traditional agriculture to new technology they have deployed and getting their output more than the previous one. And we have also COVID, almost 4,000 oxygen concentrator we have distributed across the sites. PSC center where the basic need is there, then where we have provided that SimCorp, and we have also getting the input through our local SDM level or some DM also giving the inputs. Yes, this is a requirement, and based on that we incorporate and in our plan, and we are doing this. Improving the skill.
Dharmender, one quick question with you, because you are working in rural India mostly. I mean, your business is renewable and sustainable businesses majorly set up. Wind is set up in rural India. So when you were training people before, was it a face-to-face training? Now with COVID coming out in the past 1 year, because yours is quite technical and people need to learn how to put up huge solar systems or windmills and stuff like that. So with this, were you able to quickly migrate your training programs that could have been, I don't know, but could have been instructor-led training program, which is a face-to-face program, to a hybrid model of virtual plus instructor-led, or do you still need to have it as an instructor-led program?
Based on the requirement, right now we are virtual training we have rolled out, and after this COVID situation is over, then we will do the face-to-face as well, and their interest we will provide that training, and so of course they are interested in solar element, we will provide that solar training as well.
Okay, understandable. Partha, your views, initiatives, what should be done?
Yes, I think, Joel, the key is to remain in touch, constant touch with your stakeholders. Like, for me, like one of our prime stakeholders have been the painter community, and so it is during these difficult times. The most important thing is that whether they feel that they are with you or not, and we have tried to do that. So we have taken a number of initiatives. So first of all, we have launched an exclusive telemedicine program for painters named Arogya Sakha. So it's a telemedicine project where almost 1.5 million painters can get access to doctors at any point of time, of more than specialists, 10, 20 specialist doctors, where they can talk about the problems. Along with that, we have also launched a COVID helpline. So whether they need medicines at their home, if they have got COVID, how do they treat themselves, regular getting their vitals checked, whether it is in a village or in a town. So this telemedicine project is doing wonders. At least because we have all seen that how situation was a couple of months back. Even there was nowhere to go. Doctors were not available. Nothing was there. So I think this the technology part of it really got pushed forward during these times, and people's acceptability of technology also increased. So this is one thing of what we have done. The second thing is that in the last 1 year, we have tried to put a lot of educative messages, to the painters about how to work with safety, how to keep themselves safe, while repainting houses, how to keep the customers also safe, because to be very honest, even the economy opens up, I will think twice before letting any painter, enter my house, because honestly, I don't know, I'm not sure whether he has got COVID or asymptomatic. So things like that. So, but if you typically see, the whole landscape has changed in this past 1 year or 2 years. When you see an urban club guy coming to your house, the number of safety precautions he takes, assures you, that that I will be safe. So this is the one area where we are focusing a lot, creating a lot of awareness program on health and safety to the painters, and doing it pan India, not only in the cities but in the villages also. We have Kaushal Vahans or Skills on Wheels, which is flying in more than 6 states of India. Currently it's on hold. Probably, hopefully soon we'll again restart it. Creating more and more awareness, doing safety training for them. The other thing, which we have focused last time and will continue to do, is to promote, mechanized trainings, mechanized tools for painting. Like, it's a reality that, tomorrow there is going to be a huge shortage of workers when the economy opens up. And the way it happens in the West, more and more mechanized tools are used. But unfortunately, India, probably it will take some time more. But this is one way where the painter can also increase their income. The work he can do in 4 or 5 days can be done, 1 or 2 day maximum, right? So that way also we are trying to do a lot of upskilling training program for the painters, helping them to procure these tools, helping them with loans, helping them to access it, So basically a lot of, you can say a lot of injecting, funds needs to be required in the sector if you really want the sector to revive. So we are trying to do that. Apart, this for especially for the, you can say, the gig workers, there is no platform, as such, where they can find jobs, where they can exchange ideas. So recently we had signed a MOU with a platform called Apna, which has created a platform. So you can say it's a type of LinkedIn for the gig workers. So it's not only job opportunities are also available, but also networking among themselves, because currently what happens is happening through WhatsApp groups. Every painter or paint contractor has their own WhatsApp group where they talk and exchange ideas. But larger platform was really required, like when they talk about among themselves, where they can address the issues being faced by them together, as a community. So that was also required. We're trying to push that also. So this these are the various initiatives. So, and to be very honest, we all know our rural economy is not equipped, to handle so much of people, for a long point of time. Maybe in the next 3 months, 4 months, okay. But do we really think such a huge amount of people who have gone back from cities to a village or even smaller towns, no matter how much do you do, it will take years, to ensure the proper employment for them. So this is not going to be a long-term solution, So, the long-term solution, definitely, we have to some way, manage, whenever it's possible. We have to find out how to bring them back, effectively, provide vaccinations to them, provide more safety awareness to them. But, this is the long-term, I believe this is a long-term solution is there to bring them back.
Correct. That leads me to my next question. So while we empower them to create sustainable environment for them to live at the moment where they are, right, and to make some kind of money, and Hardik brought up a very valid point, because they're without jobs right now, and there is so much of money. You see, the blue collar workforce is the foundation on which this country has been built, right? And they've gone back. They would have either their money would be scarce, or it would be over by now. And foundations like ICICI are empowering them to keep sustaining themselves till such time. But in the long run, we need to bring them back if we need to bolster the Indian economy, because they are the people that are going to come and fill our factories and manufacture for us and put products out into the market and give it to the consumer, where the consumer buys and the economy gets bolstered. So, while the immediate need of corporate India is definitely, to get rid of this pandemic and put it behind us and win over this pandemic, do you all think that the long-term need or the near-term long-term need, both, would be to reskill the people that have gone back and bring them back to the cities, or give them the confidence to come back and say that, this is behind us? Because like Partha said, that, the infrastructure in rural India will take another couple of decades to get anywhere close to a tier 2 city. So what's your opinion on that? I mean, coming back, bringing them back, giving them the confidence, ensuring them that the jobs are there, ensuring them that the minimum wages are available, waiting for them, regulatory and compliance is waiting for them. What's your opinion around that? I mean, right now, yes, everybody's investing in COVID, vaccinations, oxygen cylinders, everything, to put COVID behind us. But 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, the economy has to be bolstered by the same rural India. So what are we going to do then? Is anybody thinking in that direction? And if we are, what do we do as a group here for the companies that you represent? What are you all thinking maybe 6 months down the line? Partha, you want to go first?
Yeah.
Sorry, anyone, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Partha.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. So, as I was telling that, you rightly said that, upskilling is one of the main keys, to ensure that when they come back, they are into productive employment, right? So, technology is changing every day, right? And, technology is required to be changed, if we really want them to be productive. And that is how, we told that, we are focusing a lot or currently on upskilling, usage of modern tools and equipment, usage of more and safety, even the way they work, everything needs a radical change. And, that is the key area where we are focusing. So traditional skilling is going to change a lot. A lot of focus is currently being on safety behavior, on the modern technologies. And that is one thing that is going to happen. And, we, in all our programs, be it whether automobile repainting or, or decorative paints, we are trying to ensure that, that will be one of the key components and of the, along with the traditional, training components.
You're on mute, Joel. We cannot hear you.
My apologies. I asked you, Alka, your perspective.
So what major thing which we have to work right now to bring them back or to gain their trust, So So their trust towards their employers, their trust towards government, totally gone. They went back. What happened shouldn't have happened. So right now also nobody can predict till what time this pandemic will last. Whether
Correct.
it's a year or 2 years or 3 years. And when we talk to those migrant laborers, they say, who's going to take care of us? Their first question, few worries which they have. They went with families. Whole India could see how they were going back. Running.
Yeah, it was an
No
exodus.
no facilities, everything. So the emotional breakdown which they have gone through, the stress, the fear, so all those things. So, Joel, it won't be easy for the corporates to bring them back. So we all have to think towards, how to, first make their mind frame, stable to come back, and the trust which is required. So basically, right now, what is the need of the art? What do they need right now? Because immediately, if we tell them some skilling is there, or some kind of small job is there for a month or for 2 months or for 3 months, and then what? Again, this lockdown, for 10, 15 days. For example, I'll give you about my own. My husband is into business. So for a month it opened and they were here only. They didn't go. But suddenly it closed down. Okay, first it will open. Now first to 15th it is lockdown is again implemented. So that fear which they go through, nobody is thinking about it. So at the end they will have to go back. They will leave this. So our major areas which right now where we should work is to gain their trust. Okay, think this time because this kind of pandemic, nobody had thought what happened during last 1.5 years. So now when it has happened, we should think in future also, if this kind of thing happens, whole India is surviving on these labors. We all know the fact that, 60% of the crowd which stays in villages, we are dependent on them, whether it is agriculture or anything, everything we depend on them. So they are the major chunk for whom we should all think about.
Absolutely.
So I'm very eager to hear all the panelists over here that what do they have it in mind, what should be done further.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Hardik, you want to go next?
Yeah, so actually, I absolutely agree with what Alka and Partha said, because as I said before, that assurance is very important. Until that coming back or that decision making to come back is very difficult for them. So, but I would say there should be some policing in terms of not only when we hear the schemes what government does on so many crores of money, there should be some vigilance and schemes on as to check on how these schemes are actually implemented, and the rules and laws related to employment. So when there was no COVID also, we were seeing so many labor issues were happening, right? So now you can imagine right now what will be the condition. So exploitation plus if they are getting PFs, their insurance or not, whatever, the long hours of working, no leaves, these are very difficult things which they cannot imagine. So when we ask them that you get a leave in a week, they can't think about that. Leave kya hota hai?
Correct.
So until there's some policing, law changing and surveillance on these, still that exploitation will not stop. So one is that training, as Partha said, definitely will require to reskill to gain that trust. I think that would be requiring, that could only happen with some policy which is deployed by a central agency, because corporates and me and you can do by just telling our contractors ki dekh I am telling you please come back and I'll take care of you. So that would be a very small amount, but for a larger population to get that trust, some policing has to come. If there is a nodal officer, or you can say anything, whatever name you can give. So on that it has to happen. Secondly, some policing on health and nutrition. So I'll talk in that again about that. Today if we give a vaccine, that's okay. But if you see the nutrition of these people, if you test their data by the blood sample, we can see there will be so much issues. So it's not about getting sick and taking disease and then next day forgetting about it. It's about how you take the nutrition, what you don't have, what if you are deficient about that particular parameter, and taking a supplement for that and sustaining for longer time. So otherwise तो क्या है, it's like a bonded labor. 10 साल काम किया फिर बाद में पता नहीं कहाँ गायब. So it's like that. So until the body survives, nothing can remain if there is no body. So if we bring them back, even skill them, the nutrition is the major part. That is what I feel. And we don't have policies for nutrition since ages. So we are still in the mode wherein we are distributing iodine, fortification, things like that. If you check the last survey data of government, if you see the health survey, they are still the checklist just has calcium kitna guli bata or iodine kya. So they are still on iodine and calcium. Imagine about other parameters like magnesium, micronutrients, vitamin B12, vitamin D. I mean, now it is a pandemic, so we are checking all these parameters and seeing ki ye to kam, ye to hai nahi, hamara to vitamin D is gone down the drain. So we are taking 60,000 IUs a week. So even we also don't check, right? But this is leading to a lot of lifestyle diseases and autoimmune diseases. So there should be, I've heard that there is a big 2.2 lakh crore of new policy coming on health. But I don't know how that money is going to get bifurcated into nutrition. So we require laboratories and health facilities and ventilators, but at the same time, if you don't want people to go to hospital, you require nutrition also, so that more people don't go to hospital.
Correct. Absolutely right. I think nutrition is a very important part of it all, and very rightfully said. Even in my own house, even though my wife is a fitness instructor, I've never checked my vitamin D levels and my vitamin B12 levels and all that. And today I'm taking Zincovit and omega-3 and everything. Okay, so that's very true. Dharmender, you want to come in? I'm just cautious about the time because I know Alka, Partha, all of you are very busy. So Dharmender, you want to give us your perspective on what initiatives we should do? As a corporate community?
As you know, we are the huge interested in rural India, and our focus to give their job at your native place, and working on that, and we are planning accordingly. And our major focus on the give their job to their home location, and that's why we are skilling them and planning accordingly to skill their based on their interest, and get the opportunity if the market is open and post pandemic, if they want to move from.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely, point noted. I think one last question. Okay, one very quick question, because I don't want to go over the hour, because I know Partha has got a meeting with his boss and Alka has a lot of calls coming in. But do you think that at this point in time, along with creating a healthcare infrastructure and getting rural India vaccinated and the workforce vaccinated, there is a very, very important underlying factor of mental health that they're all going through? Should programs be run for these people to stabilize their mental health and then win their trust back? Very quickly, all four of you. Yeah, please go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
I totally agree. Right now, not only rural, it's for everyone.
Everywhere.
So everywhere, every one of us, in houses, you see, in the evening, I feel like opening window and standing at my balcony, I hear,
absolutely,
shouts from houses, so people. So everybody has gone through that, mental stress and emotional breakdown, no clue, that lost kind of attitude. So yeah, we do run, many psychiatrists and all. We are getting this kind of courses. like a webinar kind of thing done. So we should do lots of, let people understand whether it's nutrition. I totally agree with Hardik. Nutrition is very much required. So Hardik, for your information, we have started doing that. So one occasion people, and after eating they fainted, and we were scared, like was it food poisoning or anything. When we got tested, we saw like all of them having that nutritious deficiencies and all. So then we thought, let us provide to the food, the quality of food should be which will help them to come over that deficiency. So yeah, these kind of steps should be taken. People should be taking care of their health, mental health or physical health or everything. So lots of awareness is required. Lots of hand holding is required, and we have been very impatient. So we have to become little patient. Like my team, I make sure I take a review week every day for across India. But I make sure one thing, if the first 15-20 minutes of my meeting is only to listen to them, listen to their any personal issues which they are going, the fear which they are coming across. So as a people, we should be like that, whether it is not only to the people who we are working with at home front, also when my maids and cooks come. So first 10 minutes I sit and talk to them every day. It's my routine work. I ask them everything is fine at home, so any issues, so I'm there. So all these things we should, if every individual should start doing, so this is going to help people. So this is my view on this.
Great.
And,
I think it's very valid.
Yeah.
Dharmender, आप कुछ कहना चाहते थे? Dharmender, you wanted to?
I totally agree with what Alka says. On this line, we have a plan for our organization. We have already rolling out this mobile medical unit, where we have deployed one doctor to morally support to the villagers. One vehicle capturing almost 10 to 15 villages in our sites level. We have 4 vehicles in 4 states, and they are boosting this mental awareness. And we are for this our community. We have also conducted a webinar type, a small collection of that people, and they are boosting to how to cope up with the COVID situation and this pandemic. And we are giving awareness.
Sure, great. Those are great. Partha, you want to go next because I know you.
Yeah. So as you rightly said, probably mental health is one thing that has been grossly neglected as a country in India. And whenever we talk about mental health, nobody wants to talk about mental health, and it's only probably in the last 1 year suddenly it has come into focus. But it's one of the key areas if we really want to come back to work and with a straight mind. Very important to talk about it, and especially I would say it's for the gig economy workers, which is required, because this is one area nobody wants to speak, and they don't even want to speak. They face a lot of issues, they don't want to speak. So this is where exactly a lot of sensitization is to required, not only at the employers level, but with each and every individual. They need to speak more and more, and this is exactly the reason why as a part of the Arogya Sekha program, telemedicine program, mental health is a very important component part of it. So whenever one calls up the helpline, it's first a counselor speak to the person, understand the need, and then only it connects to the right doctor. And on an employers level, we are trying to get more and more awareness about it with the contractors, so the labor contractors, so that they also take it up at the individual level with the pages.
So Hardik, closing statements from you. I think you're on mute. You're on mute, Hardik. You have to get off mute.
Yeah, you can hear me now.
Yes, I can. Yes,
Sorry.
absolutely.
So actually, team has summed it up. I would like to second with Partha, Alka, and Dharmendra and what you said. So definitely, just like we have hotlines for grievance redressal, we are also trying to do something in our company wherein people can call and ask and tell their not about the grievance, but to anything which is bothering them in life generally. So things like that can be set up. Definitely, mental health. Otherwise, also mental health it is not spoken about. So
Correct.
so this is really a need right now in which we can deploy some facilities like that. So just like the helplines, we have 1031 and other COVID helplines. If there is any hotline wherein there are counselors, there are psychologists who can be engaged and talk. Definitely, corporates are doing by scheduling calls with them. But I think for the larger population, who is requiring the most is that major population we spoke about. So for them, it is really necessary when it is free of cost calling and just telling what they are feeling. So somebody is there to hear you out. So,
Correct.
I don't know if I'm sounding technically okay. I don't know how would we do it, but that is the requirement, I think, right now.
Absolutely. I think to sum it all up, I don't want to take too much of your time, but to sum it all up, I think the need of the hour is to fight COVID right now as a community, as a corporate community, which we all are doing in some fashion or the other. The short term is to think about or to plan about, stabilizing the foundation on which this country is being built, giving them a strong reassurance that we need them and they need to come back, and that's why we will invest in them to reskill them and upskill them for trades that they need to, and parallelly to give them the stability mentally that if situations like this reoccur, we are well equipped to take care of it in a better fashion. So that would be my summary of the whole 1 hour of discussion that we've had. Like I said, we are 5 past the hour. Thank you so much, Alka. Thank you, Dharmendra. Yeah, please go ahead.
I would like to say very important. And empathy. So these are the two words, through which we can at least do it in our circles, small circles, make that network big network of empathy. So I think that creates don't give 1 star if somebody is late for your delivery. So I know what they are going through. We don't know actually what they are going through. Sometimes we can help in some other way. If not directly.
Absolutely. Very true. Empathy has to be shown. But thank you so much, Hardik. Thank you all for your time, for accepting the invite on behalf of TeamLease and the complete group. Thank you so much, and we look forward to talking to you more often and working with you. Thank you all the viewers who've joined through various mediums. Thank you all. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. And be healthy.
And stay safe. Stay safe. All of you stay safe. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.